Hey everybody, Matt Wallace bringing you AI every day. It's Friday Fun Day, and I'm going to bring you a series of quick hits to start your weekend of all the crazy AI news from this week. And I used to joke that AI was the Christmas that comes every 2 weeks, and now it's more like it comes 5 times a day because you just can't keep up with what's going on. But if it's been a slow news week, let me catch you up because it's been a wild one. The first thing here is that there was a leak of what turned out to be a model from Mistral, 70 billion parameters. It was called MiQ, MIQU, when it showed up mysteriously. And the CEO eventually got onto Twitter and confirmed that it was theirs, that they'd watermarked it, that it came from a quote unquote over-enthusiastic employee of one of our early access customers. And he also said, "We've made good progress since. Stay tuned." And this model in some early tests, despite being quantized, the MI Mistral, QU quantized supposedly, is like very competitive with GPT-4. I did get a copy of it myself. We'll see. So that's one wild thing. It comes with both the research leap of nearly GPT-4 level model coming out of Mistral. Again, that's not a mixture of experts. And then, of course, being on par with that, but them saying they've made progress makes you think someone's really nipping at OpenAI's heels. Speaking of nipping at heels, one of the problems with training LLMs in general historically has been open data corpuses. So 2 days ago, release of Dolma, DOLMA, an open corpus of 3 trillion tokens for language model pre-training research. This is all English tokens too. They say it's culled from a diverse mixture of web content, scientific papers, code, public domain books, social media, and encyclopedic materials, which is totally incredible when you think about it. Llama 2 is trained with just over 2 trillion tokens, which means this is something that you could use to probably train a 100 billion parameter model successfully, even without injecting any of your own data. Pretty amazing. It's been used to train Olmo, OLMO, a state-of-the-art open language model and framework, and almost pretty small, but it does well. But to me, the standout was really the data set. I think the training of Olmo might even just be to support that and prove it was possible. Let's see. Lava 1.6. So somebody released a Lava 1.6, which is basically merged weights, and you can get the multimodal Lava 1.6, LAVA, and it's merged into either Vicuna 7B, Vicuna 13B, Mistral 7B, or the Hermes Yi 34B model. The 34B model outperforms Gemini Pro on benchmarks like the MMLU and MathVista. Wow, let that sink in. So you've got a sort of open model that you can go and tap into that at only, I think, 34 billion parameters is actually beating the very recently released and drawing buzz Gemini Pro. As we march on, there also was an MOE Lava release a couple days ago. So this is applying that mixture of experts methodology. So one of the exciting things for me when the MOE Mistral release Mixtral came out was I felt like we were going to see MOE models kind of explode and the architecture would prove that it was like a fertile area for research. I think this is the first thing that really proves that. This MOE Lava thing, mixture of experts for large language vision models. So it's a highly performing model. It's comparable to the 1.57B, which, that was not state of the art competitive with the commercial closed source models, but it was pretty good. But MOE Lava is actually a sparsely activated that only has a fraction of those, I think it's 3.6, 3.5 billion activated parameters per run. So that's actually incredibly small. It's the kind of thing where if you were quantizing it, you can actually see that really running really easily on a phone. And I'm literally picturing like heads-up displays where your phone is like identifying things in the world around you in real time because it's doing it so fast. The next thing was there's a really amazing paper about efficient tool use with chain of abstraction reasoning, and I'll flash this up for you here too, along with these other things. This basically was just a whole advancement that kind of improved on old types of chain of thought type things and improved on the React methodology to have another way for LLMs to use tools. Now, the one thing that bothered me about this paper is I felt like it wasn't fairly compared, and there may be something under the hood that I don't fully understand about the use cases for these two, because this one was a little bit more narrow than the other one, but there was a really interesting paper months and months ago called LATS Language Agent Tree Search. It was also an improvement over chain of thought, tree of thought, reflection with an X, those other sorts of things. They compare themselves to some of those earlier papers, but not LATS, and I don't know if that's because the use case is not as fitting or what, and I have to dig into that some more. Then some of the other crazy thing that's going on, I literally can't even get this all on the screen for you because I want to keep it short, but there's been two amazing things going on. The other one I talked about the other day on the last podcast, which was stable identity, the ability to take something, and I showed the cans and some other things, and take something from one photo and then do a diffusion prompt for a new photo, but keep that core identity of that thing intact. And we saw how it basically was competitive with as if you had fine-tuned a model in Dream Booth, except it didn't actually require any fine-tuning. So we got another model that's doing that. This instant ID model, exactly the same thing. I don't know if it's using a similar methodology because honestly, I can't even dig into these papers. I'm trying to absorb some of the implications at this point because it's coming so fast. But again, it's a tuning-free method to achieve identity preservation generation with only a single image, meaning you hand it an image and you go, this person is a superhero, this person is on the moon, whatever, this thing on the moon, and you actually get it between those two. Kind of wild. I'm not even going to cover it because honestly, I'm annoyed at them for not releasing anything in terms of the model or weights, but there is actually a Google team that released a paper called Lumiere that's actually doing the same thing in many ways with video. She show somebody jogging down the street, video editing it as a block character, and suddenly she looks like she's Minecraft, et cetera, et cetera. And I think they can do 5 seconds of reasonably high frame rate video with that. And then the last one I'm going to cover today is Eagle 7B. So this is another really interesting thing. So it's a smallish model at 7 billion parameters, but it's very competitive. They say superior multilingually, but very competitive in English with the other 7 billion parameter models. But what's interesting about this is it's not a transformer-based model. I should say it's not a self-attention transformer-based model. It is based on an RNN-based architecture. So historically speaking, people have really thrived doing self-attention mechanisms on top of LLMs because they can do parallel computation, quote unquote, pay attention to lots of segments of the input segment and previous generation at the same time. But those things grow quadratically, meaning to go from 1,000 input tokens to 2,000 input tokens, classically the 2x increase in length was going to 4x the computational cost. RNNs lack that mechanism, which can be a disadvantage, but in this case, it can be a huge advantage too if you can make it competitive, because they'd be excellent at dealing with incredibly long input contexts because the computational qualities are going to grow linearly with that text. In other words, you want to generate a response for something that's 1,000 times the size as an input, it's going to cost you 1,000 times the computation, totally flat. So you would call that like linear scaling essentially. And that's interesting. It's only a 7 billion parameter model and so many cool things going on in open source. I think you see these things release in a very kind of smaller form initially, but I think it's reasonable to expect that much like with the mixture of experts thing, you're going to see a lot bigger and better things come out of it. Hard to say if this particular thing will fall into that category. But that's the news roundup. It's mind-blowing how much stuff is going on, and I have only covered probably 1% of the interesting things, but maybe those are my top 5 or 6 that have happened in the past few days of this week. Have a great weekend.